Welcome back to the Broad Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Den. Michael Cormelos is here with me. Unfortunately, Ethan Leviditis not able to join us. He will be back very soon, though, and we are so happy to be back. I mean, it's been a while now. And we say this literally every single time we do these because, it gets harder. We're seniors now, and that's what happens. But, we are so excited to be here. Talk about football, and right now, at least, that's going to be college football, and that's going to be the college football playoff, which starts on December 31st with two incredible matchups that we're so excited to dive into after a full season of college football.
I think our last video was the college football playoff preview for last season.
Did a basketball one.
Did we do a basketball?
Yeah,
we did 7 months ago, where we said that
basketball one in between,
and we said we were very sorry for our hiatus, our 4-month hiatus, so we did that.
And then we went on a 6-month hiatus.
7-month hiatus. Yes.
7? Oh my God, that is
7 months ago.
That is something else. But
we're bad at this.
We might be. Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
We're happy to be here and do what we love. So
we're back.
So let's do exactly that. And do we dive right into our first game? Are we ready?
Let's dive right into it. New Year's Eve, 4 p.m. Number 3 ranked TCU Horned Frogs and number 2 ranked Michigan Wolverines. And in my opinion, is the best game of the day, including the Alabama Kansas State game. But this game is really, really interesting. I mean, TCU, you could say all you want about, Alabama should be in over them, which I think we should discuss actually first. To anybody who says Alabama should be in over TCU, I want you to look at their resume. I want you to tell me what quality wins Alabama has over TCU. And then I understand that Alabama lost both games on the last play of the game. You got the phantom 2-point conversion from Jaden Daniels, the Brian Kelly mastery, and the game-winning field goal against Kentucky?
Yeah.
Not Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to the argument, but then I say a loss is a loss. And, I can't punish TCU for having one loss and a conference champion. Yes, it was the conference championship, but still one loss all season to a top 10 team that's now going to play Alabama in a bowl game. Yeah. I think I can't punish it because what happens if they lose to Kansas State in the regular season? Yeah. And then they went and they destroyed them in the Big 12 championship like they did in the regular season. I mean, are we still having this argument or not? I still think TCU is obviously. I still think TCU is the best team in the Big 12, even though Kansas State won. Yeah. But I don't think there can be an argument to be made that TCU was really that much better, or that Alabama is that much better than TCU. That their Alabama's weak resume should put them in over TCU.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think the thing for me is when we created, I say we weren't 12 years old when this thing was created, but
when in elementary school.
Yeah, exactly. But this committee and whatever, to decide who makes this playoff, and supposedly this impartial phantom board that comes together in this room, and you hear all these stories about all these random people, and all the secrecy.
None of which you've ever seen before in your life.
Yeah, exactly. It's nuts.
You just see a random clip of them every morning. Every Tuesday night,
Yeah.
And then boom.
Yeah, never see them again. Yep.
Never see them again.
Yep. But, I think there's some nervousness about these established powers within college football. And, these teams have built these programs up that we keep seeing in the college football playoff. You see your Alabamas, you see your Clemsons, you see your Ohio States, these
you see your Oklahomas.
Yeah.
We got a good share of Oklahoma before Lincoln Riley left.
Hopefully now it'll be your USC's.
Awful exits for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't think Oklahoma ever came within 3 scores.
No, they're in quite the rough spot now. But they'll get more teams like Cincinnati last year.
It was great. I don't think they played bad.
Yeah, and having some variety within this college football playoff, and simply looking at the resume and the games that you do win and the strength of that said schedule and not overanalyzing the strength of a conference or a strength of a program against that, I think that leads to more fun on paper at least, and maybe over time more competitive as the system balances out matchups. And I think that's really what we can hope for. And I think the scale is balancing out. I think this TCU football team is awesome. We're going to dive right into it, and
I
I'm really
agree.
excited to watch them play.
People who say that college football isn't a postseason sport, but still, 12 teams isn't a lot. When there's 140, like 128 college football Division I FBS teams, and only 12 of them will make the playoff.
Yeah.
It's not a postseason sport. The regular season still very much matters because if anything, it gets more nitpicky now with head-to-head losses and everything.
Yeah.
I think it makes the regular season more interesting.
And I don't need a Cheez-It Bowl. I don't need
Exactly.
a Lamo Bowl.
I mean, we're still going to get those bowls, but
I'm good.
And I mean, you look at it this year. Like you look at Alabama versus Kansas State. Alabama is going to have 20 players who opt out of that game. Now I get to see one more. If it's a 12-team playoff this year, I see Bryce Young play one more game. I see Jahmyr Gibbs. I see Will Anderson. I see all those guys get to play one more game. I think it's better for the sport in general. I think ratings will go up if you slap this is a playoff game. I think it's fun. I think it gives more teams an opportunity. I mean, we've seen time and time again in college football upsets. Even this year, we saw Tennessee upset Alabama in huge fashion. We saw. South Carolina, Michigan State, Ohio State was an upset. You look at Clemson, South Carolina, Tennessee, South Carolina. I mean, there were huge upsets this year in college football, and I think that the 12-team playoff. I think people are like, okay, well, 1 versus 4 is going to be a blowout. So why is it 1 versus 12 going to be a blowout? I don't think it is. I don't think 1 versus 4 is always a blowout. I mean, I remember 1 versus 4 being a blowout in the sense that Ohio State blew out Alabama. And Alabama blew out Clemson. Both were 4 seeds that beat 1 seeds. It's not impossible to beat a 4 seed. To beat a 1 seed.
Yeah.
I ran over.
One loss changes everything. And that's how this sport works. So, if you're the most talented team in football and, you're playing this game where we know, one call or one turnover can completely change the course of a game, and especially in this sport with student athletes, any NCAA. That's why March Madness, we obsess over the kind of, ridiculousness and the upsets that occur within that. And we question sometimes how these talented teams and players have the ability to lose. It's because they're in college, These are still 18, 19-year-old kids. They're not that much older than us. So,
And one more thing I'd like to point out for that 12-team playoff is that, I'm going to revert this back to Clemson, but you look like a team like Clemson this year. DJ Uiagalelei was awful in the second half of the season. And it showed because we lost 2 games. And bam, it kicked us out of the playoff. But in the other year, we're playing where we have a bye. And if you saw the way Clemson played in that ACC championship with Kate Klubnik in, it's a different team with that new quarterback. And I think, okay, well, what if we were given that chance? What could happen? Or I can't really think of any other examples this year. Kansas State is an interesting one because they would have a bye this year because they won. They beat TCU and they would have earned that bye. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. And I think it's going to create a lot of storylines, but I'm still enjoying our 14 playoff this year and next year. I'm going to enjoy it. I still think it's better than the BCS.
I had to get the BCS was
there. I did. I think the BCS was BS.
Yeah.
Should we actually get into picking some games now after our
some games,
almost 15-minute rant about?
That was not 15 minutes.
It was. All right. TCU, Michigan. Give me your thoughts. In case you were wondering, Michigan comes in as a 7.5-point favorite. Over/unders 58.5, and Michigan is given a 66.5% chance to win to ESPN Analytics. So you could tell me what you want first.
So I've been lucky enough to be able to watch both these teams at what I feel like has been their most complete games so far this year. I feel as on both sides of the ball, and just to see, the dominance which both can display on both sides. For TCU, I'm going to say that's that Texas game. And I know that's going to be a surprise because, of their offensive output that game and, the way they kind of struggled against, a Texas defense, which, it is a Big 12 defense. So, but, it's still, they've got some solid edge rushers over there. It's not, it's not totally a joke. But the way their secondary was able to respond and clamp down on the Texas offense, which had a couple hot weeks, clamp down on Bijan Robinson, probably the best running back in the country, and shut down Quinn Ewers, who, is coming into that game incredibly hot, and just basically, take him out of the game. They forced him, to win that game with his arm. And just the way they locked down their secondary, and he couldn't. And so, to see that TCU defense at that strength, along with, what we've seen from a Heisman candidate and Max Duggan this year.
The runner-up.
Yeah.
The runner-up.
Incredible. The
amazing story and amazing player.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was going to be benched going into this year, wasn't he?
Like, he wasn't a starter.
Yeah.
I don't remember who. What's his name? Who was the starter? It was the Oklahoma transfer.
Yeah,
Malachi something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who it was. I don't remember who it was. Chandler Morris.
Yeah,
the Oklahoma transfer. People were high on him. I was high on him. I thought he was going to be great, and hurt. I was like, okay, well, they're irrelevant for the rest of the season. And here we are. That was not a good take.
Yeah, no, and I mean what he does with his legs. We saw it in that championship game to put his team on his back. His pocket presence has, the experience that he's had over 4 years. You can tell how it factors into his decision making. He's always the smartest guy on the field.
Oh yeah, definitely. Only 4 interceptions in the season. There were 30 touchdowns.
Yep, and to have a weapon like Quentin Johnson right with him, that offense is just as explosive. They're going to be able to put it right against a Michigan defense, which, I feel glad to have seen against Ohio State, and to see them run the football down their throats a second year, and to
it was very interesting.
Yeah. And just get those giant chunk plays. And even without their star running back, Blake Corum, who's now out for the season, who was thought to be as the focal point of their entire offense.
Yep.
And now the step up of quarterback J.J. McCarthy and their passing offense.
I agree.
And just their ability to continue to run the ball has been insane. And that defense is
Donovan Edwards is, for a backup running back, 870 yards on the season.
Yep.
Great. I think he's amazing.
And credit to that offensive line, which over the past 3 years, has consistently, the way they've recruited that way, you win football games in the trenches. We've known this at the pro level for a while now. It's spreading down to college football. It's just
even high school football.
High school.
It's starting to become obvious. I mean, in some of my games, I've seen, the games are one on the O line and D line.
Yep.
And to see, even high school teams focusing on, moving the line of scrimmage up every play when you want to, if you want to dominate the game. And I love how I think that's a huge way to teach the game. And I think that's credit to coaches, coaching all over the aspect from Pee Wee to NFL, obviously. Yeah. Something I really want to touch on this game is Michigan's run defense.
Yeah.
Michigan's run defense has been great. They've allowed 85 yards a game. This now, I think one of TCU's most underrated aspects of the team is Kendre Miller, who ran for about 1,300 yards this season and 17 touchdowns on 6.2 yards per carry. He's good. Yeah. Michigan has not played many good running backs this season. Maybe Singleton from Penn State, and obviously, the Ohio State run game is always a revolving door of greatness.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be not that game. I think it's gonna be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Both run defenses. I mean, let's. I mean, like you talked about.
Deuce Vaughn is stepping up away a week out from completely carving up that TCU run defense.
Yep.
And, we have to think about that.
They allowed 150 yards a game. I mean, they cannot let Donovan Edwards run wild.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be if they can shut down the run game and force J.J. McCarthy to win the game with his arm, then I think that's still the weakness. I think J.J. McCarthy's been good, but I don't think he's ready yet as a thrower. I mean, he's been good, but I don't think he's he's not at the level yet.
Yeah.
Or he can win a college football playoff game with his arm.
Yeah.
And I think if TCU could, shut it down, I think TCU should win this game, but I don't think they're going to. They've showed it multiple times this season. I mean, yes, they shut down Bijan Robinson, but just last week you saw they could not stop Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn ran circles around that team.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good secondary. It's a really good secondary. Only allowing 230 yards a game in the air against Pac-12, Big 12 offenses. Offenses like Texas, Baylor, good offenses like that. I mean, I think the key is shutting down the run game, and if they do, I think they win the game. If they don't, they get crushed. But I think it's a testament. I mean, both these offenses are amazing. Both averaging 40 points a game. Both have insane running games. It's really I'm a broken record at this point, but it is up to the rushing defense of this TCU team. But I don't think it is. I don't think they're there yet.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, I think TCU is still contending next year for a playoff spot with Chandler Morris, the quarterback, and Max Duggan leaving.
Maybe. I don't know. Just what Duggan has brought to this football team, man. And like I said, the control of that offense. I don't know that I can see them making the playoff any other way. And
as we were talking about Oklahoma, one of the top transfers in the transfer portal, Deshaun McCullough, who was a top 50 prospect last year, has flipped his commitment. Oh, wait, yes, this is a transfer. So Deshaun McCullough was a freshman. No, he was at Indiana this year, and he is transferred to Oklahoma. Oh. He's a safety, and his brother is in our recruiting class right now, 2023. He is a safety as well, and he is committed to Oklahoma now. He flipped from Indiana. So interesting news. Interesting breaking news as we're here. No. Yeah. But continue what we were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I just think I agree with you. I think the real thing about Michigan is their ability to completely control and take advantage of the pace of the game. And I think just a week off of seeing TCU kind of be manhandled for significant parts of that game.
I agree.
Big 12 championship game. I think I'm going to have to take Michigan here. I'm going to say Michigan 33, TCU 24. That's going to be my score prediction.
I'm going to take Michigan too. I don't even know where to go with the score prediction here. I mean, Michigan's been so good, but so is TCU. I mean, I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a game that's fought until the fourth quarter, until Michigan pulls away. I mean, I'm going to go 41-30 Michigan.
Okay.
So I don't think that TCU passing attack is going to go away anytime soon. I mean, Quentin Johnson's one of the best receivers, let alone players in this draft class.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. I think he's special.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be really good, and yeah, he's going to keep them in the game. Max Duggan's going to keep them in the game, but I don't think that defense is going to keep them in the game. Yeah. But you heard it. If they turn down the run game, rushing attack, a broken record. I will say it. I'm blue in the face.
Yep.
And here we are at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, 8:00 Eastern time. Number 4 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. Barely squeaking in. I mean, everything went their way. Barely getting in this position against the number 1 ranked, undefeated, championship favorite Georgia Bulldogs. 13-0.
Defending champion.
Defending champion. SEC champs. Not manhandling, but beating LSU 50-30 last week.
Manhandling. You can say that.
The game opens up 6.5 point favorite, Georgia. Over under 62 points, and ESPN gives them about a 58% chance to win. What are you thinking here?
This is an interesting one.
I agree.
It's just, it's so weird to have this Ohio State team and to have CJ Stroud, who I think we forget for about 3/4 of the season, I would say was the Heisman favorite and
Yep.
by a large, large margin.
I agree.
I
mean, I think
still,
after Iowa, I think after Penn State,
yeah,
it was. I thought he was a lock.
yeah, I think we all did. And shout out to Caleb Williams. It was more, about Williams' incredible performance over the last second half than what Stroud wasn't doing. And part of
I
it
think
was that Michigan game as well.
at
But
Northwestern as well.
yeah,
You're going 10 for 76 for 71 yards.
the
That
wind,
stat line is locked in my head.
the wind.
It was bad. It was
Yeah.
bad.
But everyone being so high on this quarterback and this offense to after the Michigan game where everybody had just kind of checked out and this team, seemed kind of over and their season was kind of lost. And, we had moved on to analyzing their prospects for the draft and seeing what happens. And like you said, second life comes, USC getting taken down by Utah, the college football playoff
Manhandled,
committee not being homers for Alabama.
as they shouldn't have been.
Yep. And so here we are, and they're in a matchup with one of the most dominant teams college football has seen in a while. Since last year's rendition.
Yes, I mean, I think
still.
this team is becoming eerily similar to the way the Saban dynasty started in Alabama.
Yep. Yeah.
With mediocre quarterback play, solid wide receiver weapons, your ability to ground and pound the ball, and stifling defense.
Yep.
I mean, they're good. They're really damn good.
Yep.
But they're not unbeatable. Because I'm going to go through their schedule. I'm going to let you know that they only beat Kent State 39-22. And then the next week, barely beat Missouri.
The Missouri. Let me speak about the Missouri one because that's the one patch where I can really see in their schedule and their flaws, because offensively, for them to not be able to run the ball against that Missouri defense and to just kind of shut down, that Missouri team, they were forced to, rely on Stetson Bennett's arm, and Stetson Bennett couldn't get it done until that very end. But they just kind of slogged their way through that game.
And they can't do that.
They couldn't
do it. Do that today.
Cannot do that. No.
No, I mean, it's impossible. They're going to get murdered if they start slow like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an Ohio State offense that averages 500 yards a game.
Yeah.
Like, they are not slowing down. And yes, Georgia's offense also averages 500 yards a game, but it's a team that's prone to start. Like, what happened to Missouri cannot happen to them.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing on the other side. What happened against Michigan and Northwestern cannot happen to Ohio State. Yeah. Because either one or the other will go down bad. Yeah. But back to what I was saying about Georgia, I think you look at the second half of Florida until nearing the end of the fourth quarter, and I think you're having a heart attack if you're a Georgia fan, thinking, "Oh my God, like it's 28-3, now it's 28-20. Like, what just happened?" Like, there was a time where I thought Florida was going to tie that game up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they didn't, because that would have been really fun to watch if the Georgia blew that to Florida. I have to look at the Kentucky game. It was bad. Stetson Bennett played terribly. Yes, the defense stepped up. Stetson Bennett sucked in this game. He's at 13 for 19 for 116 yards and an interception. I mean, you cannot let Kentucky have hope.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Kentucky is a bad football team with a bad players, with a bad quarterback. They should not be anywhere.
We'll have us in April, you guys. Don't worry.
And they cannot get it done in the air. Yes, they got it done on the ground. Thank God they did. But guess what? I mean, Never mind. I don't know. I was going to go into how Ohio State has a decent run defense, but they don't. They allow 120 yards a game, which isn't awful, but like I still think Georgia can get past them with
Yeah.
just running the ball. But I don't think it'll be easy.
Yeah.
I think Georgia's kind of coming in. I mean, Georgia's coming in hot, but Ohio State's coming in with like they have something to prove. Georgia has nothing to prove. They're the best team in college football. They're the best team I've seen. They're one of the best teams I've seen in a long time. One of the best runs I've seen in a long time. But Ohio State comes in here with something to prove. I don't think they're going to go away lightly. And they have players.
Yeah.
I mean, C.J. Stroud obviously is the highlight of the offense. Mayan Williams emerging as a very, very good running back. I mean, rushing for 800 yards, starting the season as a backup to what everybody thought was going to be Travion Henderson's backfield. And I mean, Mayan Williams past couple games. I mean, you just look at Northwestern, he kept them in the game. Indiana, 450 yards against Rutgers, 200 yards. I mean, kind of disappeared against Michigan, but that's because they really stopped, running the ball.
Yeah. Had no other place.
That was a problem.
Yeah.
But I think he's emerged as a great player. And I mean, yes, when you look at the receiving core, it's Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison Jr., that's all people talk about. Yes, I agree. It's very hard not to be. But Emeka Egbuka is very, very damn good at football. He has 6 less receptions than Marvin Harrison Jr., for about 100 less yards and 3 less touchdowns. They have very comparable stats to each other. And if you're going to talk about Marvin Harrison as one of the best receivers in college football, then Emeka Egbuka needs to creep into the conversation. He's going to be one of the top receivers in the draft class next year. I mean, he has had some explosive games. I mean, you want to talk about guys who kept that in that Michigan game for as long as they did? 9 receptions for 125 yards and a touchdown. MSU, you want to know why they blew out Michigan State? 5 receptions, 143 yards, 1 touchdown. You want to know why they played so well against Notre Dame? 9 receptions, 90 yards. You want to know, I mean, so many 100-yard games. I mean, I think he's been one of the most consistent receivers in all of college football. I think, I don't know how people just overlook this guy so much. All anybody thinks about is Marvin Harrison. I mean, I think Marvin Harrison's a great receiver as well, best receiver in our draft class next year. But, yeah. I mean, with Jackson Smith and Jacob's absence, Egbuka has really stepped up. And I feel like it's sneaky guys like that. It's Julian Fleming, who has found a resurgence in his career in the second half of the season. It's Kate Stover at tight end, who's a great blocking tight end who can also make it, who could also, mess you up on the wide receiver core. I mean, it's Dallin Hayden, the freshman running back, who somehow, I don't know how Ohio State's rotating guys in that keeps working. I mean, this offense is really good. And if they have to catch Georgia lacking if they want to win this game. Yeah. But I don't think they're going to. I think Georgia, once again, is very dominant, regardless of how I feel about Stetson Bennett as a player. I think, I don't have much to say about it. I mean, Georgia's defense has allowed 12 points per game this season. That's hard in the SEC. I don't care what division in the SEC you're. I don't care if you didn't play a ranked SEC team all season. It's hard. And then, yes, LSU was bad. You allowed 30 points, most of which were in garbage time or whatever, but still. And to allow, 77 rushing yards a game, somewhere where Ohio State finds that life when the passing game isn't working. Once again, if Georgia can shut down the pass game, it's going to be a blowout. I'm taking Georgia. I'm going to go 38-17. Yeah. But it can be closer depending on how Ohio State wants to come out of this game. If they want to come out of this game, if they want to go into it and they come out of the tunnel and they're like, we're just happy to be here, it's going to get ugly really fast. Yeah. If they go into the game thinking, we have something to prove, we're those guys, we should have beaten, like the Michigan game wasn't us, that game could be a hell of a lot closer. Yeah. That's just me.
I think it's going to come down to 2 things. And they're both, some of the biggest cliches you're ever going to hear from a college football person ever. The first is big plays. And you look at this Ohio State secondary and what they've, given up over a lot of these couple games. I know they have a corner who was supposed to be like the second best corner in next year's class, but he's their number one corner. But he's looked not great, and their entire secondary, has given up a lot of chunk plays over these past couple of games. And I know Alabama doesn't exactly have, I mean, not Alabama, Georgia. The new Alabama does not exactly have the skill position weapons to totally take advantage of that, but I still think
that's my counter argument to what you're going to say, because their number one receiver is their tight end, who has 700 yards.
Yeah.
They have Lad McConkey, who is 675, and then your running back with 40 or 50 yards, and then another tight end, and your next best actual wide receiver has 300 yards.
Maybe
their wide receiver
with what they did against LSU last week, and the chunk plays they were able to create there. So if they can carry that over, I think it's going to be massive. And secondly, I'm going to say the turnover battle, because we know the amount of plays that this Georgia defense is able to create with their ability to get to the ball. Guys like Jalen Carter, who I'm so excited for the Philadelphia Eagles to select, all across that D line. They're absolute studs. Yeah, they're linebackers, studs. Everybody on that defense will be a first-round draft pick. And so, if they can get to Stroud, that is going to be huge. And so, I think I'm going to have faith in this Georgia team. I'm going to just kind of hope that, they're able to tame some of the explosiveness that you were talking about that comes with the skill position guys in this Ohio defense. And I'm going to actually kind of lowball it. I'm going to say 24-20 Georgia. It's going to be mine.
They both are two very good defenses.
Yep.
I mean, you're looking at Ohio State. I mean, you talk about, oh, wow, Georgia's only allowed, 290 yards a game. Okay, well, Ohio State only allows 300. Yeah. Oh, wow, Georgia only allows 13 points a game. Okay, Ohio State only allows 19.
6 points is the difference, man.
I know 6 points is the difference. But I'm just saying, it's a very good defense.
No, I agree. That Ohio State D-line is incredible as well. It's just that secondary and the chunk plays,
I mean, even that, it's just they haven't been able to stop big running backs all season. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen when Teddy McIntosh can walk in there and walk all over that Ohio State defense, I think Georgia's offense, this is the game where the Stetson Bennett kind of proves he was the guy. I mean, as if he hasn't already, but, Georgia's wide receiver needs to step up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they, all right. Now that we've brought up the hypothetical, we should just talk about it. Georgia, Michigan, it's quick. Who's winning?
It's so tough, man. It's so tough.
It's tough. They're two very, very good football teams.
And two very, very similar football teams, which is also really part of
good but not great quarterback, amazing rushing attack, and not great wide receivers, dominant defense.
Yeah.
I think what Jim Harbaugh is starting to build at Michigan, it's scary. It's like I said earlier, Georgia's starting to build their teams the way that Saban built the early Bama teams. Harbaugh's starting to build the Michigan the way that Saban built his younger Alabama teams.
Yep.
And I think that's scary.
Yeah. We all were making fun of, Harbaugh for never being able to beat Ohio State, never being able to sneak in, and credit to him in the way he's been able to completely rally and turn this program around. Like we said, building it in the trenches and not, it's never been the 5-star quarterbacks or the 5-star wide receivers that
Ohio now it is. Now it's the 5-star.
Well, now it will be.
It's the prodigy. The 5-star quarterback and Jay McCarthy.
Yeah. But yeah.
Michigan's about to single-handedly take away Ryan Day's job.
Yeah.
If you lose to Ohio, if you lose to Michigan, you're out.
They're calling for it already. Believe me.
They are.
Yeah, yeah. But give me Georgia. Give me Georgia.
I can't pick against Georgia.
Yeah, it's just.
I think they're beatable, but
Yeah.
Michigan isn't there yet.
Yep.
Now, if you gave me the same game next year, I don't know.
I don't know, but
I think I pick Michigan, but I think that this Georgia team has so much experience in these situations where Michigan's a very, very young team. It reminds me a lot of that 2016. It reminds me of the 2015 Clemson team that came into that Alabama championship game and was kind of like got outmatched.
Yeah.
And didn't really know how to respond to adversity, and then came in, the next year and kind of dominated. But then I could also say that's the way Michigan was last year.
Yeah.
I'd say that Michigan could come in this year and dominate. So I don't know.
And
it depends what Michigan game we're getting.
We're witnessing a truly historic defense. And as much
historic. Yeah. I mean,
and that's that's hard to pick against.
It's really hard to pick against.
Yeah.
I have to pick Georgia too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all right. That
is it.
So we will be back as soon as possible. Hopefully not 7 months, for God's sake. But that felt great, and it's really good to be back. So let's keep it this way. Yes, sir. All right, though. Thank you as always for listening. And who do we fire? We can't say fire Smith anymore.
Fire Lovie Smith, please.
Fire Lovie Smith. There you go. We will fire Lovie Smith.
Fire Ryan Day.
Yeah. Fire Daryl Morey. Fire Daryl Morey. There we go. Fire Daryl Morey.
Why are we firing Morey?
They're terrible. We'll talk about this.
It's not his fault.
They're horrendous. Fire Doc Rivers. Fire everyone. Burn it down.
Lovie Smith. Yes.
Great.